Welcome to the Real Triathlon Podcast. I'm your host, Garrick Lowen, here with Nicholas Chase and Jackson Lund.
Welcome back to the Real Triathlon Podcast. This has been a long-awaited episode, and we've been just trying to get all of our schedules lined up to get Mr. Brent McMahon to come back on. The last time you were on was just such a gem. All of our listeners were writing in. I think I got some fan mail that was written in by some children even. We got to hear more from Brent. So how does that make you feel, Brent?
Pretty good. You know, maybe those children are now teenagers now, so they'll get the answers better now because it's been so long.
Yeah. Last time this was dubbed by you, and this is always something I have to defend us for, is Old Man Brent episode number 2. I think, or is it number 3?
This is gotta be number 3 now.
You don't ask Old Man Brent, so his memory is good.
He says, okay, well, Old Man Brent, number 3, we're just gonna go with that. Anyways, I think this is just gonna be a good episode for a general catch up. And then Brent, I've got some questions I wanted to fire off at the end of the episode or near the tail end of it about the sport, your experiences, where athletes can best put their money in terms of buying stuff and nutrition stuff that you've kind of seen come and go over the years. Because as me and Jackson know, like if we have like a stumping question, we just ask Brent, because you've done it probably 10 times better than us, at least for 10 more years.
Or done it wrong and learned from it. So
yeah. So wealth of knowledge. Jackson, how are you doing?
Good. I'm getting back into the old normal schedule after a bit of a downtime. And we were all over in St. George there, and there was a mixture bag of results there, and maybe we should start with that. How was your first race? Was it Brent, or did you do one before that I just totally missed?
That was the first one of the season. So, and it was actually the first one after over 6 months. So the last time I'd raced was actually back in St. George in the fall and at the World Championships. So classic. I'll never take a miss on an opportunity to race St. George, whether I'm ready or not. So I figured I was thinking about doing Oceanside, and I definitely wasn't ready for Oceanside, and decided to go ahead with St. George and just kind of see where things were at. And ultimately, first race of the season for me is always a mixed bag. So sometimes it goes okay, or sometimes it goes crappy. I think after years and years of racing, I've almost never had a really good race as the first race of the season. So St. George was a little bit of good, fair bit of bad, and some good exercise and good training. My strong suit of transition was actually my worst. So
what went wrong?
That was all sorts went wrong. I had my race number was in my pocket because I'd forgot to put it in my transition bag at check-in. So I put it in my pocket, and so then we're running from swim to bike, it flew out. And then Brennan, actually a guy from Victoria that I train with, he's like, hey, as we're running beside each other, I think I saw your number back there. And I was like, oh. So then I turned around and had to run all the way back to the end of transition, grab my number. And then I just was like flustered, and I just struggled to get my race top on and my wetsuit off. And
wait, so you still like don't just unzip the front and leave the sleeves on?
I cannot swim in a wetsuit with my sleeves on. My shoulders just don't like that. I've tried it, and it just my shoulders end up kind of seizing up, and so annoyingly, yes, I have to pull it up. It goes against everything about having fast transitions, but yeah. And then onto the bike, I just had a rough day. Just nothing clicked and didn't have any power there, and so kind of just got through the ride.
Yeah, you knew it was bad when I went by you. That was a bad day for both of us.
Well, there was when everybody was going by me and I couldn't go with anybody. I was like, oh, okay, it's one of those days. And
well, real quick too, on your point to your wetsuit with your sleeves and your everything, we did a practice swim together, and you basically just we were like wading in like 30 feet of water, and I'm pretty sure you took off your entire wetsuit, got naked, and got back in your wetsuit while treading water.
Well, yeah, it took a little while, but
because you were so pissed about the tri-suit in your
in my wetsuit. Because that exactly. I even tried it one more time. I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll try it one more time just to see. And I hated it just as much as all the other times I tried it. So I'm like, dang it, I'm gonna have to pull up my suit in transition. So it still doesn't work for me.
All right.
So
sorry.
yeah.
So you're on the bike, and it looks like on the run you started to get some legs under you though.
Yeah, I kind of came around. I was actually really cold coming off the bike. So took me the whole uphill to sort of get warm, and then on the downhill I actually kind of remembered how to run. And then and then the second lap on the run went really well, and closed some time, and laser focused on your back as we were going through the golf course. I was like, I gotta
God damn it.
get them.
It's all right. That's fine. So Robbie was like, I was catching him on the first lap, and I think we were like maybe 10th and 12th or something like that. And I saw him, and he was coming back at me real fast. And on the downhill, I caught him. And I'll be damned if that bastard didn't find like another gear for the rest of the race, and then put like another 3 minutes another minute and a half into me. And I was so pissed about that. It took me forever to come back. So I was like, when you
You're
caught
pissed
me,
about
like,
more than just that. So
I was pissed about a lot of things. But anyways, when Brent caught me, I was like, all right, here I go. It just couldn't go.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't click, no matter how hard you try. It's funny. I had some new friends that I've gotten to know in the complex that I live at here in Victoria, and so this was kind of the first race that they'd watched, and they were saying to Carolyn after the race, why didn't Brent just ride faster? Why didn't he just go harder?
Yeah, that's all.
It's just like, yeah, that's the answer. Just don't suck as much. Just
It's funny what people will say about sports they don't know about.
Yeah.
Because like even people who are like way into like I don't know, excuse me, like let's say football or something, they might be like, why don't they just run faster? It's like it's the same in every sport. Everyone is doing the very best that they can, and there's all a bunch of people trying to do their very damn best, and some people are just better on the day, and then there's some people who are just at a higher level. Like nobody's just freaking sandbagging out there. It's not that. Maybe like I don't know, maybe in people who are doing their first one or something, there's like everybody's been there where they're like, oh, maybe didn't go hard enough there, but more often than not, it's I went too hard there and blew up.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny how even people who know about sports will just like have no idea how endurance sports work.
Yeah. Well, or sport in general. It's like, it's just like you said, you are trying hard. There's not usually more trying.
So Brent, you've won on that course before, and since that course has been around, it's changed a bunch. What is you like between I guess the bike course has always been pretty similar. They sometimes put a couple of grabs or mileage grabs in there, but for the run course, which version of the run course was your favorite? Because I think you've probably raced all of them. Was it the original one where you kind of went up to Dixie Rock, spent some time up there, and then had that long, nice grade all the way back into town? Or was it when we had the World Championship there, the first round, and you had to like go down that steepest 12% grade back into town? Or is it the current golf course route? Which was your kind of favorite?
Well, I have never done that super steep one. I didn't do Worlds that year, so I never did that really steep. I from everything that everybody said, nobody liked that, and I don't think I would have liked that. It sounded pretty awful, and just interrupting your rhythm, and and it's kind of just like an ugly part. I like this course is pretty good. It's nice that it's 2 laps. You go through town, so I think that's good. But I don't know, running up on the Red Hills Parkway, that was just kind of something pretty cool about that, and the fact that it was one loop, so you basically just 10 and a bit K out, turn around, and then you just got to get back. And so I don't know. The original course was pretty cool.
Yeah.
For the it was pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I did not like that. I just don't like the golf course because it's such a disruption in your everything. Like you finally kill yourself to get to the top, try to open it up a bit, and there's all these crazy undulations, turns when you're going fast downhill, and then finally you get back to the nice straight. So that's not my fave. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say the original was the best. The first World's course with the downhill, it was so steep, sucked. And then this one's solid, but yeah, I definitely feel like I tend to run better in like more of a consistent rhythm, whether it's an uphill or a downhill or a flat. But with all the turns and stuff, it kind of interrupts me. But same for everybody, so kind of interesting. And the thing about this course, and like the one thing about, for some reason, any run course where you can't really see, like there's no turns or there's no U-turns or like spots where you can see more than like 20 seconds behind you, those are just like the most stressful because you're trying to focus ahead of you, but then you're also like, it's nice to know that as well. Like it's all part of the information, but again, everybody's in the same boat, so it's kind of just adds another element to it. But I like to be able to have a couple U-turns and see, okay, how am I doing compared to the guys behind, compared to the guys ahead, and just sort of base a little bit of my strategy off of that. But overall, I mean, to run on a golf course is pretty cool, as long as you don't roll an ankle.
Yeah.
Okay, so St. George is done. Brent, you've made not a very startling announcement. I think all of us have been wondering how much longer you were going to keep pushing yourself to this level in the sport and transition into other things. And that you've made an announcement. This is going to be your final year. Whether that's true or not, we don't care. I mean, so if you come back, we'd love it. If you don't stay retired and it's something that's cool, we certainly like those stories too. But what is your final hypothetical race schedule? And then also, what are you transitioning into more of instead of like this high-end competition?
Yeah, so for the remainder of the year, I'm off to escape from Alcatraz in a couple weekends. And then I go on to Mont Tremblant 70.3, and then probably Oregon 70.3. And that'll just be kind of in the build towards the Nice Ironman World Championships. And that will probably be, I don't know for 100% sure, but I know I'll be taking a break after that. So that will probably be my last kind of full race and end of the year. Unless whatever, something changes and I feel like doing another race after that. But my dad's trying to rope me into doing Boston with him. So I might have to run a marathon in the fall.
A big deal.
So that we can go do the Boston Marathon together. So
Wait, well, Dad's got to be getting up there doing a marathon. He's still fit. There's no surprise on that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's still old man McMahon.
Yeah, I'm old man Brent, but then there's the old man McMahon that's still running marathons at 76. So,
well, real quick, wouldn't some of your Ironman marathon times qualify for Boston already?
Well, so again, my dad's really into this, so he's done a little bit of research, and I think he told me the other day that some triathletes have actually been able to get into Boston based on their Ironman times.
Yeah.
So, so that said, like, yeah, because I think for my age category, it's because I'm way up there.
4 hours probably.
The time gets slower when you're way up in the age category. So my age category, it's like I think it's 30? Yeah, something like that, so it's like a sub 3 hour would do it. So
oh my god, yeah.
So most of there's only a couple Ironmans that I haven't run under 3 hours. So
there you go.
But it'd be kind of fun maybe just go do a marathon because I've never run a straight marathon. So I might I don't know if I'll probably end up doing one, like Brad Caulfield and Tyler Butterfield and Will Clark, all those guys, they're all doing fast marathons now that they're retired. So I don't know. That sounds like that's the retirement path after Ironman is you you retire for a couple of years, you get fat, and then you're like, oh, I need to get back to shape, and so that you go and do a marathon. So
And then eventually you try to requalify for Kona.
yeah, yeah,
I got to get back.
So
yeah.
I gotta ask. So you've been doing this because you started pretty young in the junior as well.
Mhm.
Um, so you've been doing this for like what? Like what? It's got to be 30, close to 30 years since you've been actually doing some form of triathlon. Is that correct?
Yeah, it'll be 33 years this year.
So what I'm like wondering in that is like, what is it that you love about it so much that like you want to be like? Because obviously, a lot of guys, like that are great athletes retire in like their mid 30s or even earlier, and they're like, okay, I'm kind of like ready to move the other things. But obviously, with you, you like really enjoyed it. So like, is it the training? Is it the racing? Like, what is it about it that just like has kept you like wanting to do it, even when like you've known probably for a few years that like your absolute best races were in your probably 30s, mid 30s, but you're still competing at a really good level. Like, what has kept you going at it?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is I always enjoyed the training. I just enjoyed pushing myself, and the racing was just kind of, you know, the other part of it. So the day-to-day kind of grind of it, I did enjoy, and I enjoyed pushing myself. Um, but in order to stay motivated, the reason I think I've been able to stay motivated, interested, and on it for so long is because I actually didn't just ever solely focus on one sport of triathlon. I always mixed in some other format along the way, so even when I was trying to qualify for the Olympics, in Athens in 2004, in 2008 and 2012, I did some Xterra racing. And so I did the Xterra Pro circuit in the US for a couple of years. And then between Beijing and London, I went and did some of the non-draft races like Chicago and LA. I also did 70.3 New Orleans, which I won in 2009. So I kind of like, I've always mixed it up a little bit. And I think that for me has kept it interesting and kept my focus sort of changing a little bit. Obviously through the Olympic cycles, I did basically 12 years of Olympic cycles. Um, it's hard, and you see that with a lot of Olympic athletes. They kind of finish their last Olympic, whether they make the Olympics or they don't, they finish and they're just done, because it's just so stressful and dealing with the bureaucracy of national federations, and they just get really burnt out. And so for me, I think I dealt with all of that. I definitely dealt with burnout and frustration with my federation, but I was able to kind of get away from it when I went and did Xterra. Like Xterra, it was just so much fun. It was just such a different attitude around racing. And so I gave myself kind of little breaks, sort of, even though it was still in the sport, it was a break from what the main focus was. And then even so, and after London, when I switched to 70.3 and Ironman, you can kind of do that with Ironman and 70.3 by picking different races, to go and do, and sort of change your either perspective, your outlook, or your goal for that race. And so for me, like, I had the opportunity to go over to the Philippines a number of times and race 70.3 Cebu, as well as the other ones that they had over there. And those races were always, they were super hot, super humid, and so they were always my weakness. Um, but they were such amazing events. They were so cool. They put on such a good show. They took such good care of the athletes that it was like just such a great experience. And so I went to that race not to necessarily try and win it. I just went because it was fun and it was a great trip. And it was like a little bit of a break, because every year I was trying to win St. George 70.3 North America Championships. I was trying to win an Ironman. And so I had all these other races that were highly focused on trying to win. But then I was like, okay, no, I'm going to go and do this race, which is fun. There's good people there. I, had a good time. And so kind of giving myself, micro breaks and also just giving yourself like just a personal break. Like, hey, it's okay to not have to win a race and just be like, do it for fun.
That's a great kind of like side topic I want to ask you about real fast, since you mentioned being versatile, well-rounded, in it for the fun, the journey, kind of the experience. But right now in the sport, if you look at some of the top winning athletes, it seems like they have to be all in, completely committed. There's no room for them to go to Xterra or to maybe kind of just have a race where they know they might be not at their best, but they want to go compete well at. Now, do you think that that's good, or do you think that that is bad and decreases the longevity of their love for the sport?
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword. And, I think for some athletes, it can work if they only focus on winning races and they only race when they're ready to win races. But with that comes risk of disappointment and frustration and letdown. And so if that's your only focus and that's the only thing that's important, then when you don't achieve that, then that gets tough to handle. And whereas if you go, okay, you know what, the goal is to win races, but I can't do it all the time, and you forgive yourself for that and you go, I just want to have some fun. Then that gives you an opportunity to be your best at times, but then let go of some of that, either performance anxiety or life anxiety. Because if you're like, I got to win every race in order to make enough money to do this and that, or make my sponsors happy, well then is that the right motivation and right life that you want to lead? And again, I think for me, that's why I've been doing it professionally for over 20-25 years, because I've given myself that break. I've been okay with underachieving, because I want to do it and I want to enjoy it and I want to have fun. And sometimes having fun means not doing as well, and that's okay. For me, some people, they have a hard time letting go of that, but I think it's important that you have to be able to do that, because that's reality of sport. Is even though you may have the ability to win every race, you never know what could happen. You can get flat tires, you can do this or that, or get a crash or caught up or whatever. And so if you can't allow yourself that sort of forgiveness to be like, okay, it didn't pan out, let's move on. And I think that's been a skill of mine that I've developed and had people around me help develop, is basically, forgive, forget, and move on. And, analyze why things didn't go well, figure out what you could have done better, but then you just got to move on. Like you can't carry a bad race with you forever. So I've always been able to do that. It's like, okay, that didn't play out, so all right, on to the next. And a lot of people, after I wasn't selected to the Olympic team in 2008, thought I was just, that's it. Okay, well, Brent's done, and why would he want to keep going? And it's like, well, yeah, it didn't pan out. I did what I did, and that's how the cookie crumbled. So,
Well,
but
it's very Canadian of you, and we appreciate that. And also, for any pro athlete right now, there's only so many years that you have on the throne, no matter what, until someone else comes to challenge and knocks you off. So right now that's happening more and more and more. Every few weeks, there's a new name that's set some crazy course record or done something really amazing, whether it's one of these young WTCS athletes coming over to long course like Leo Berger and at Oceanside. Jackson, you certainly felt his sting. So it's like there's a lot more than just that one podium. And I think no matter what you do, and Brent and Jackson, you both won races, people are just what's next? Even if you just won a race, all they want to talk about is what you're going to do next. And it's almost like that one fleeting moment of you winning that race. Seems so short-lived. And does that feel accurate based on my perception?
Yeah. I think so. And I think that's just the reality of the media and the marketing right now as well, is just everything is just kind of instant and, short-lived. And they, like, it's back when I was in the beginning of my career,
Magazines.
Stuff was printed in magazines, and it took a few weeks to get that magazine out to everybody. So, and then it was in print, and it was in print for a long time. It wasn't just rolled out, it was good for a month at least.
Someone probably reread an article about you on the toilet for months.
Exactly. Yeah. They flipped through that picture of me,
Yeah. Oh, what the, yeah.
And now it's like, the interesting thing is now, I don't know how many people read magazines because it comes out and it's all old news. It's like, oh yeah, I know about this. So they have to go more into like training tips and different things that aren't necessarily time based. But just to back up for a second here, I've already mentioned this on the podcast before, but I want to mention it again. You qualified for the 2004 Olympics. That's the first time you qualified, right? And then in 2008 you didn't, and then you did again in 2012. And that is extremely rare. Like, go look at any sport. Like, that does not happen very often. So that's like a huge testament to the attitude you just mentioned. Like, okay, keep moving forward. Like, no one thing is gonna just totally derail your attitude and your career and your mindset. And I think that's something that probably, if anything, like, to take away from like your career is like you did that probably better than anybody, because like that's not easy to do. Most people would have just quit or just automatically moved on from Olympics, but you were like, no, I think I still got this, and you did it again. Like, that's freaking crazy. But yeah, give yourself a pat on the back for that, Brent. That's stellar. Hey, Brent.
Yeah. We're a big fan, buddy.
Well, thank
and
you.
You're still, by the way, like in St. George before the race, I was talking to Brent. I was like, I'm gonna try to get on your feet and swim. Of course, none of this happened. There was a shit show of people everywhere. There's not nearly enough space. I didn't even know where you were, and I was.
We're not good enough, is the bottom line.
I told you what to do. I told you where I was gonna be, and I was like, come over and don't start next to me. Just start behind me, and you'll be good. But you didn't come over.
I just completely forgot everything that happened, but Mont Tremblant, okay.
All right, we got
not as many people, bigger.
I'll be there too.
Wetsuit, calmer water. Maybe I can.
All right.
But anyway, yeah, that's another thing is to be like, it seems like your swim is very close to as good as it's ever been still when it comes to open water. And maybe, I don't know if that's true in the pool or not either, but like, how have you maintained your swim specifically? Because that's the one that I feel like most guys, as they get up into their 40s, the swim falls off first. And maybe that's just training based, or like, obviously, like Andy Potts used to be like the best swimmer in the sport, and then he's now, kind of more normal in the swim. How have you like kept that level so high?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's like I don't actually train as much as I used to swimming. So
what's your average weekly mile or distance? What do you think now?
That's the thing. It really, like, especially the last couple of years, it really fluctuates more than it ever used to, because my training and my energy and my fatigue fluctuates quite a bit more. That's part of what I've noticed in just getting older, is just the inability to do the same amount of work at the same level that I used to consistently day on day on. So like I'll be able to put together, either a week, or I'll put together a couple of good sessions or a couple of good days. But I used to be able to just do it over and over and over again. And now I can't. And so typically when I get fatigued, one of the first things to go is the swimming. Like last week I swam I think 20K, and then this week, just this recent week, a lot of fatigue, tired, and I
5K.
think I did like 8K of swimming. And it was just like, and going into St. George, I was doing the same thing. But I think part of what you sort of mentioned there, Jackson, is, when it comes to open water, there's a lot of skill involved there, and it's not just based on how fast you are in the pool. And that's one thing, again, that, years of experience, but also how I am as an athlete who's focused on the details and the tactics and the technical stuff, is I can get the most out of what I've got fitness wise, because tactically I'm always making the right decision through trial and error. Sometimes I make the wrong choice, but for the most part, I can make really good decisions. I know how hard to go out. I know where to get the right feed. I know where, which side to go on versus the other. And so I'm definitely not swimming as fast as I used to, for sure, in the pool. But for some reason, yeah, Nick, you were kicking my butt in the pool. So I told you, what, you're kicking my butt. You should be on my feet. But what happened?
I was next to Jackson for some stupid reason.
Actually, you were even behind me at the end of that time. I got like almost a minute ahead of you.
I know my swim tactics they've gone out the window last year's. I need to shore those up real quick.
We got we got the 3 levels here. We got Nick's swim tactics in St. George were real bad. Mine were a little less bad, and then Brent I'm probably almost as fast as Brent in the pool, but I don't know if maybe I've gotten out into your pack once or twice, but something I've got to work on. But it's like, when you've got to have done like, it must be like 300 plus triathlons if you're doing it for 30 years. Like, you're doing 10 a year, right? Like you made every choice and learn from it. And that's another thing that I think people can take away from this, and I can, is like, if you make a mistake, learn from the damn thing and don't do it that way next time. And obviously it's easier said than done. And sometimes you might make the same choice and it might work, and sometimes you might make that choice and it won't work. But 300 times trial and error, like, you've obviously got that dialed in. And you were like second or third out of the water in St. George, so pretty freaking good.
Yeah,
except for that bib situation, you probably
Yeah, well,
hey, don't feel bad. Jackson also forgot to put his bib in his run kit, but I had to make a special visit to transition at like 5, like right after they closed.
No, it was like 7. It was like getting dark.
Oh, it was late.
Heather Furr was real nice to meet me there and give me an exception. So that was, you should have let me know. We could have gone together. It would have been fun.
I know. I thought I solved the problem. I thought I came up with a great idea, which was, I'll put it in my pocket. It's with me the whole time, and then I don't have to worry about it. But
it was a good idea.
It was a good idea, but the execution just wasn't there. I should have put a pin in the pocket to make sure that it stayed closed.
But then you would have never gotten it out.
No, it'll give it a little yank. It would have been fine.
Fair. So, Brent, I wanted to kind of get your opinion on all of the bits of nutritional tech, aerodynamical tech. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that's kind of been influenced by professional athletes to make game-changing, race results, blood lactate testing. In your mind, like, let's just focus on 3 things that any age group triathlete who has been in the sport long enough, we're not talking about beginners who could just shave an hour off by just probably hydrating better. Like, someone who's been in the sport for a while, what are 3 things that you actually think are valuable that the technology has brought to our sport that people should invest in?
That's a tough question.
Can't be EPO.
Narrowing it down to 3, or even just narrowing it down to
one's good.
Certain things, because certain people will get more benefit out of other things depending on their background, their type of racing, what
okay, so to shore it up, one for the swim, the bike, the run, and nutrition. So we got 4 things. Let's
It
go.
was his freaking technology. He's like, everybody needs to pay all this stuff. Brent, just shut him down. Just say it's all bullshit.
No, that's what I want. If it is all bullshit, then Brent can say that. But I want one thing for each leg of the sport, including nutrition, that you find you would say like, yeah, if you buy this wetsuit, it's real fucking good. Make a big difference. Was that you, Jackson?
It's
Come on, man.
I gotta have to go with Jackson here. It's just all the tech is it's incremental gains.
Okay.
So there is absolutely nothing out there that is going to be a game changer.
Not even these $3,000 cockpits people are putting on their bikes right now.
It's gonna make an incremental benefit, but that might give you a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe at like a maximum 5 minutes. But what does going and doing a 2-week training camp in open water swimming gonna do? That's gonna maybe save you 20 minutes.
Fair.
So that has nothing to do with technology. That's to do with technique and proper training. Nutrition is really the biggest thing, because that can make or break your race. And so I think if you're not figuring out what you need personally to execute a race based on your duration and your output and your calorie intake and your sodium intake and stuff like that, you're going to consistently miss races and miss your goals because you don't have your nutrition. So I think a lot of the nutrition stuff, the testing that you can do for nutrition, whether that's sweat rate, sodium loss, things like that, I think those can have huge impacts on your racing and your training. Because if you're not getting your nutrition right, you're affecting your training day in and day out before you even get to the race. So if you're not getting enough calories in your training, or if you're not getting enough sodium in your training and you're cramping on your long workouts, well, you're not going to be able to execute your training to a good standard, which is going to make you improve your racing. So really, stuff that you add on for racing is going to be incremental changes, because the bulk of benefit is derived out of training, not on race day. So, whether it's elastic laces, or whether it's, this wheel or that wheel, or, these aero bars or whatever, all the main work is done by then. So that's just stuff you can spend money on to go incrementally faster.
To feel good about yourself.
Yeah. And if you want to spend money on it, I think that's great. Like if you want to get the most expensive wheels because they're like, 22 seconds faster, that's fine. I think that's great, because that's what you can do. And there's people that it makes them feel good that they've got a, fast bike and they've got all the quickest equipment. And if that gives them confidence, well, then that has a huge impact on your ability to perform. Because if you feel confident in your equipment, then you're going to feel confident about your day, which means you're going to race confidently. You're not going to have nerves. And so you're going to execute better. So that's more psychology than it is actual equipment. But hey, it's all the same thing. So nutrition, I think, is, anything you invest in nutrition is money well spent, because that's going to have a big effect.
You expertly answered the question.
You can get all the stuff at thefeed.com. It's Jackson Laundry's nutrition club.
That's the beauty of thefeed.com is they have everything. So you can experiment. You can be like, I want to buy a box of this. I want to buy a box of this. I want to get that powder, that powder, that powder. And you can try it out. And one workout, you'll go, okay, no, those gels don't work. I need to try these ones or this one. And you can get it all in one place. So
yeah, don't do everything all in one day. That is not what we're saying. It's one thing per time.
Yes, because you have to know whether it's that change that worked or whether it's something else. So
like this gel gave me diarrhea. This gel gave me Tourette's. This gel really made me. No, I mean, sometimes there's a caffeinated gel that just makes you really spazzy out there.
Yeah, those Morton 100 milligram. If you put too many of those in your pack, that's a lot of caffeine in a short period of time.
Okay, so you absolutely answered my question appropriately as always, and didn't ever think you were going to fail us. So all that bullshit marketing that may have a little bit of truth into it that makes it seem way better. Don't worry about that stuff as much, but the training, the lifestyle, and everything that you put into your body to keep that machine going is the only thing that matters at the crux of it.
It's the priority. Start there and then add things on top of that. Because if you're not doing those things right first, then the other stuff you add on is not gonna have that big a benefit.
Yeah, you got a cool bike, but it's still going pretty much the same speed.
Still got a shit.
You still got a what?
A shit engine.
So I know, at some point you got to head out here. So before, not that I'm rushing you off in any case, but I want to get this question in now, just in case we do run out of time. What are you like looking forward to having more time to do when you're not training as much, racing professionally anymore? Or are you still sort of just like winging it, or what are your plans?
Exactly.
Yeah, like I know, and I said it in my post that like I will be retiring from full-time racing as a triathlete, but I will always be a professional in what I do sport-wise, and I'll always be racing. It probably just won't be triathlons, and it'll be other events, and it won't be to make a living from it or be trying to win the event. I'm sure I'll end up getting into events that I'll want to try and win, but it just won't be my career. And because I enjoy training, and like I said, and I enjoy pushing myself. I've come to a point where I don't enjoy it enough to have it at the sacrifice of the rest of my life. Because that's what it takes. Your whole life has to revolve around your training and your goals, and that includes the people in your life as well. And
you spent a lot of time away from your wife for sure.
Yeah, and family, and like I've missed weddings and birthdays and funerals and all sorts of things because I've been away or I've been here, and I just can't go because it's a mass person event and I don't want to get sick, and I have a big race coming up, and and so I've enjoyed all of that, and I've enjoyed those decisions I've made, but I'm at a point now where I want to be able to go to all those things, and I want to have training not be the priority, and I'm looking forward to doing other things, and I'm looking forward to doing training and having it not matter. That's what I'm also really excited about. So like going and doing a workout and not caring how it ends up going, like just go for it, and hey, if it works out, great, but it doesn't matter because I'm not trying to win a race, or I'm not trying to be as good as I can be in XYZ. So taking the pressure off of training and just being able to exercise and push myself for the sake of it, and that's the reality of it. And there's people out there, there's professionals out there that I just do it for fun, and and it's like, if it's your career, you got to be honest with yourself. There's days you're doing it for the money. Like you've chosen it to be your career, which means you're making your living from it. And so those days you're doing it for the money. You're like, I'm going out, I'm training, I'm killing myself here because this is how I make money, and I got to go and do it. But in other days you're going out there and you're like, I'm doing it because I love it, and this is just fun, and I'm having a great time. And any professional athlete that doesn't say they have those days, I just don't believe it. But it's you again. That goes back to kind of what I said. Is you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to forgive yourself for certain things. And so I'm looking forward to being able to put that all aside and just have fun exercising and racing and focusing on whatever I'm doing next.
All right, two things. Number one, I took a picture of you at St. George. You've got a good career in professional modeling, whether it be for LL Bean or Guess Apparel. I think there's a future there. I might submit it for you.
Okay, if you could manage my acting and modeling career, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm good. I manage all kinds of bullshit anyway.
2% commission.
Number two, so you love St. George. It's a great place. I happen to live there. We got some spare bedrooms and stuff. What if you guys came out and just hung out with me and just trained with me all the time, and I'll feed you.
He wants you to be his training bitch for free.
And I'll take good care of you. I'll make sure you got a gym membership and all massages. Probably I'll do them. No big deal. I could use some wisdom.
I will be back. Yes, I will always come back to St. George. It's the places that I love on this earth are Maui and St. George, and they're both places I can get to easily, and I'll always be coming back to those. So you can definitely count on me coming back to St. George and
for like 3 months maybe.
But you guys, this is what I'm hearing is you guys need to get off your asses and you need to come up here to Victoria and learn how to swim open water.
Yeah, I know.
I'll do it.
Even if you come up for like a week or 10 days, and we'll just swim open water every single day. And we've got a mass group swim every Friday morning with 70 people. We'll just bang it out and just It's you gotta do it repetition.
I agree with you. I do. That needs to be done. But the other thing that needs to be done is, so you're coming to Ultra 170.3, and in all likelihood, that'll probably be the last time I ever get to race with you. Nick gets to race with you.
No, I'm going to go to Oregon too.
Okay, so Nick gets that one too. But we got to do some kind of collaboration where we do some video thing, or for just for fun hangout after the race, or just like a little training ride before the race, ask you a ton more questions, because we need you in our lives, Brent. I'm gonna miss you in this sport.
We got to get lit and do something.
You're not gonna be gone. You're gonna be still hanging around. So
I'll still be around. I'll still be around.
I'm gonna hire you as my hangout manager, coach, life coach, swimmer coach. You're gonna hang out with me.
Yeah. Well, hey,
he's gotta support me. I'm the Canadian. We're gonna fight over you. We're gonna be like, well, I'll give you this if you come hang out with me, and
we'll put him under contract.
Yeah, like, hey, like I will train with anybody. Like, if I get paid to train, I'll do that. If I don't have to race and people are just gonna pay me to come train with them, I'm putting that out there. Anybody out there that wants me to come train with them, whether it's for a week or if we want to go to Maui, we're gonna go to St. George, I'm all over that. I said, I love the trainings.
Dibs.
I think you've got a huge. Obviously, I know you've got a huge wealth of knowledge, but I think there's like definitely a need for like young athletes to have like obviously role models and people like you, but like just to have someone around who's experienced helps so much. Like in town in Guelph here, we got a couple of young guys like coming up trying to go pro in triathlon, and they're 20 and 22 or something, 23. And they're good athletes, but like just having, and obviously we're not as experienced as you, but just having myself and Cody and Taylor around, like they get to skip so many of those mistakes that we made. And like, that's a thing that I honestly think is such huge value. And like, literally, like if somebody wants to like pay you, or even if you're like a mentor and you're like, oh, I'll go train with this pro squad that the coach pays you to go, like that shit helps like a ton. And
I've got a meeting.
I wish I had someone around who was really experienced when I was like early 20s as a pro athlete to kind of like, bounce those ideas off. Because obviously my coach used to be pro and stuff, but there weren't really any like people doing what I was doing long course who like had that experience.
Well, Brent, we're going to have a meeting this week. about, I'm going to bring you up in this meeting. We're going to have an opportunity with Real Tri Squad to have a bunch of North American hopeful Olympians under our roster, and see if we can pay you to become a mentor for us and be your first paid client, bud. I'm going to pitch it.
All right.
Yes, and he's done it all. He's done the Olympics, done the long course. I don't see it
modeling.
Yeah, you've this that's the thing. I love the sport, and I love what I also love is it's been a very selfish sport, but it's also time now for me to be able to give back and be able to share my knowledge. And I've always taken the opportunity to try and do that. And but I want to do it more specifically now. And that's, now that I won't be racing full time, I'll be able to do that and put time and energy into sharing the knowledge and training with others and doing stuff like that. So I look forward to those opportunities coming up.
When's your book coming out? When can we announce that?
It'll be an ebook, that's for sure.
Well, all you got to do to write a book these days is literally record yourself talking about your life for many hours, and then you've got like an editor who writes it all out and does it all for you.
No, you don't even need to do that. You just log on to AI.com and you say, give my life story, AI.
Yeah.
Hey, you have a pretty good amount of information online. Have you tried that? Like, have you seen what it said?
It's kind of crazy. Lance and I were hanging out one evening, and I didn't know anything about these AI sites. And I was like, what are these? And he's like, dude, you got to check this out. And it was like, and so he asked it to like, give a synopsis of Brent McMahon's triathlon career. And it just like, it took a while, but it was like, holy crap. It's like, it's pretty darn accurate. And it was like pretty well written. And I was like, wow. Okay, well, if I need to do a bio for myself, I'm just going to ask AI to do it.
Yeah, that's
well, Garrick, you just joined us. Sorry, this is the tail end of this interview with Brent. You missed a good one. Looks like you were getting a haircut.
But he gets to listen to it and put the edit together. Nick said some maybe questionable things you might want to cut out.
No, I didn't. That was not bad.
Yeah, it saves me from listening to it a third and fourth time, but that's all right. I missed the last time, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to catch at least like a couple minutes here, and then I'll be here for the intro, and I'll give a synopsis of what I didn't hear.
There you go.
Nice. Well, Brent, thank you so much. We're going to have you on no matter what, but even if you're headlining the Christian Dior clothing launch on Fashion Week or something, you got it in you, bud. I know it. You got that. Yeah. Get that pizzazz.
Well, you know what they say is like men, like some people think men get more attractive as they get 40s. Like you're getting that like experience look to you. You never know. You could have a huge career modeling.
All right.
You've got a fine wine appearance.
Nick knows a lot about fine wine, especially port.
God damn it. All right, Brent, thanks again, bud. We'll look forward to getting our asses kicked, even when you're racing the amateur field.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you in the Tremblant first.
Absolutely. Yeah. Give us a good peace out. Come on now. Ready?
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
That's it.
No, we do the peace oot. You got to do the peace oot.
Peace oot.
The peace oot? What is hip talk? I'm old. What are you guys referring to? Do you want me to say peace out? Like peace out, or
I'll just say it at the same time. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Peace
out.
I got ish to do. Flying through the sky in my parachute. Dancing on the couch like I'm Tommy Cruise.